Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Class has become very lazy.
Trial version.
They come in ones and twos and they slowly come strolling.
Trial version.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning,
Trial
Amrita.
version.
Amrita, is it possible for me to see you?
Trial version.
Ma'am, to them it's in a desktop.
Trial version.
Today you are not decked up.
No, ma'am, to them using a
Oh, you are using
desktop.
a desktop. Okay,
Trial
okay,
version.
sorry. I thought you are not decked up enough to come online. Okay, sorry, my mistake.
No, ma'am,
Trial
that's
version.
okay.
No, actually, like, when you are coming online and if you're visible, you need to
Trial
have
version.
at least a proper, decent way of dressing up.
Trial
I don't
version.
expect you to come all decked up with all kind of makeup and everything on, but at least a decent thing.
Trial version.
9 o'clock. Should we wait for another 1 or 2 minutes? Because since we are doing tempest, might as well just wait.
Trial
What
version.
happened to Poirada? Where is Poirada? Poirada has not yet
Trial
come.
version.
He's very, very punctual and regular.
Trial version.
Kalke, I hurt his emotions and
Ma'am,
sentiment.
he
Trial
got
version.
scared.
He got?
He got scared. His manly
Trial
word
version.
was badly heard.
No, it's okay. We made it up.
Trial
I
version.
messaged him personally. I don't really kind of, feel bad if I have to say sorry. I
Trial
told him
version.
sorry. He said, no, it's okay, ma'am. So he actually then enjoys. So then he
Trial version.
enjoyed. So he was faking it when he said, hey, ma'am, সবসময় মেয়েদের কথা বলেন.
Trial
Come
version.
on. Who is there? Who is that kind of a man or a young man who
Trial
does not
version.
like to be appreciated by a young, pretty woman? Or a
Trial
young,
version.
pretty, handsome man? Whatever it is. That is your choice and
Trial
preference.
version.
Anyway, I made it up with Poirada. Poirada is happy. So I wanted Poirada to come
Trial
fast.
version.
Where is he? It's 9:01. Without wasting any more time, without any more ado,
Trial
let's begin
version.
then. Good morning to everyone. Okay, that's my darling Sakshi. Now,
Trial
see
version.
Aditi, we have now Sakshi and Tamanna to give you company along with Priyanshu. Good.
Trial
I am
version.
happy. So we stopped at Gonzalo with A and we
Trial
continue.
version.
Antonio says, why in good time? Now,
Trial
please
version.
underline in good time and write down. You have
Trial version.
woken up at the right time. Somebody please tell
Trial version.
Tamanna the line number. Oh, she's left. You have
Trial
woken
version.
up at the right time. Tamanna, it's line number, I think, 92, 93.
Trial version.
You have woken up at the right time.
Trial version.
I hope you understand why Antonio says that, because the last line, he
Trial
just
version.
says A. Because, as if, do you know this word? Just let me write
Trial
this in the
version.
chat.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Seems to have, good morning, yeah. Seems to have woken up from a reverie.
Trial
Reverie
version.
means as if, he was thinking of something in the past. You also
Trial
have a
version.
textbook called Reverie and Echoes. So reverie is actually like,
Trial version.
going to the past and thinking about the past. So he seems to have woken up from a reverie.
Trial version.
And Gonzalo says to Alonso, sir, we were
Trial
talking
version.
that our garments seem now as fresh as when we were at
Trial
Tunis at
version.
the marriage of your daughter, who is now queen, Antonio. And the
Trial version.
rarest that ever came there. Underline the word rarest and write down.
Trial version.
The best queen that Tunis could ever have.
Trial
The
version.
best queen that Tunis could ever
Trial
have.
version.
I think we had discussed about this in detail yesterday, that Tunis had
Trial
never
version.
been graced with such a paragon like Claribel. Okay. Sebastian says,
Trial
bait,
version.
I beseech you, Widow Dido. Bait, I beseech you. Underline the word bait
Trial
and write
version.
down. Please do not mention. Please do
Trial
not
version.
mention Widow Dido. Oh, Widow Dido.
Trial
Widow
version.
Dido. I mean, it's nothing. They're just repeating the lines. Is not, sir,
Trial version.
my doublet as fresh as the first day I wore it?
Trial version.
I mean, in a sort, is not my doublet. Now, I think in your
Trial
books
version.
you have a picture of a doublet. It's a jacket. It's a short jacket.
Trial
Nowadays, you
version.
know, you'll find it's in fashion, it's in vogue. Men wear it. It's not, you know, the typical
Trial
Nehru
version.
jacket. It's more smarter version of a short jacket. I
Trial
think it's
version.
called more like a smoking jacket. You know, on top
Trial
of that, you
version.
wear your tux. You wear the tuxedo, but just below the tux, you
Trial
wear that
version.
small smoking jacket, something like that. That is actually a doublet. Do you
Trial version.
remember the reference to a doublet in Merchant of Venice? The
Trial
English
version.
baron?
Yes,
Remember,
yes,
the
ma'am.
English baron is a perfect
Trial
gentleman, but
version.
he seemed to have no unique fashion. He had borrowed everything from different
Trial
parts.
version.
Doublet from somewhere, horse from somewhere, bonnet from somewhere, and his
Trial
manners
version.
from everywhere. So it says that my jacket which I am wearing
Trial
is
version.
as fresh as the day I wore it. Now, if the question comes,
Trial version.
when did he first wear the jacket? What will be the answer?
Trial version.
Ma'am, at the wedding.
Absolutely correct. At the wedding.
Trial
Please
version.
note at Claribel's wedding at Tunis. She says,
Trial
I
version.
mean in a sort. In a sort means not in
Trial version.
entirety, in a way. Here in a sort means in a way.
Trial version.
Now, let's take it very
Trial
carefully.
version.
Let's understand. Here there is a pun. Gonzalo says, in a way. I mean,
Trial version.
like, you know, Banglaয় বলি যে কোনো ভাবে, in some way, I would
Trial
say,
version.
the jacket retains its freshness in a
Trial
way.
version.
Why does he say in a way?
Trial version.
Think and answer.
Ma'am,
Think
by
and
some extraordinary means.
Trial
No,
version.
in a way, it retains the freshness in a way. Yeah, by
Trial
some
version.
extraordinary means, fine. We have been through the sea storm, fine. But what is the
Trial
first
version.
meaning of the word fresh, Priyangshu? Fresh means something that you're trying out for the first time.
Trial
First
version.
time you're wearing it, but it is not the fact. In a way means that means
Trial
maybe he
version.
had worn the jacket before, and the main and the
Trial
most
version.
important thing is the jacket is not really fresh because he has been wearing it for a very long
Trial
time.
version.
So in a way means somehow or the other, I would still
Trial
want to
version.
attribute, write it like this. Wait just a second.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial
Please don't
version.
mind my short form.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
In
Trial
a way,
version.
so he attributes the freshness to the jacket even though it was worn
Trial
for a
version.
long time. In a way,
Trial version.
somehow or the other, it retains the freshness even though, as Priyangshu said, number one, we
Trial
had
version.
been through a tempest. Number two, since we were wearing it for a long time
Trial
anyway,
version.
whatever you're wearing, it loses its freshness. Like, suppose you buy fresh
Trial
vegetables,
version.
but you keep it out for a very long time. So what happens? It loses the freshness.
Trial
So he
version.
says, in a way, it retains the freshness. Now, Antonio,
Trial version.
he puns on the word salt and he says, that
Trial
salt
version.
was well fished for. Now, this sort that Antonio
Trial
talks
version.
about is, first write down the meaning of the word sort and write, drawing
Trial
out
version.
lots. Drawing out lots.
Trial version.
Now, what is drawing out lots? Let me tell you.
Trial version.
If you ever go to a casino and if you are doing a gambling, whatever
Trial
it may
version.
be with, whether it's a card gambling or whatever, especially, in a card,
Trial
the
version.
person who's sitting there on the other side of the table, the person says, pick up a card. If your
Trial
card
version.
has the highest number or whatever, then you get the money or something like that. So
Trial
pulling
version.
out the sort means what happens is when you are taking
Trial
out the
version.
highest number from there. That is in gambling. So drawing out lot
Trial version.
means drawing out lot comes from the word lottery. The word lot comes
Trial
from the
version.
word lottery. So here it means that whatever you are trying to play
Trial
with,
version.
the whole reason that you are trying to play with the garment and the whole thing
Trial
is
version.
working out very well with the king. In other words, let me explain. Listen to me clearly.
Trial version.
Why is Antonio trying to talk about it with betting?
Trial version.
Why do we bet? First tell me that. Why do we bet?
Trial version.
Why do we gamble?
To make money.
Correct.
Trial version.
To make money, but there is always a kind of a possibility you may
Trial version.
lose, you may win. So it's there. Similarly
Trial
here,
version.
Antonio is saying that Gonzalo is gambling. Gambling with
Trial
what?
version.
Gambling with words. Here, so
Trial
therefore
version.
write this down.
Trial version.
He's playing with words. When you gamble with money. Gonzalo
version.
was playing, but instead of money, he was gambling with words. He was juggling with
Trial
words. He
version.
was playing with words. বাংলায় আমি একটা বাংলায় কথা বলছি বাংলা
Trial
একটা
version.
প্রবাদ আছে লাগে তুক না লাগে তাক. That means what? If you
Trial
hit the
version.
jackpot, you are a millionaire. If you don't hit the jackpot, like when you go for
Trial
those
version.
bowling alleys, if you have ever gone for the bowling alley and if you are able to
Trial
hit
version.
all those at one go, it's done. Sometimes what happens, you are
Trial
able to
version.
strike only one. Sometimes what happens, you're not even able to strike even a
Trial
single one.
version.
And you just fall down in the turn, trying to, pass the ball because it's heavy.
Trial
In a
version.
similar fashion, he says that was well fished for.
Trial
That
version.
means you played with your words well. Because what was your purpose? Your
Trial
purpose was
version.
to play with your words, trying to. This is the thing.
Trial version.
This is the purpose. You gamble
Trial
to
version.
gain money. Here he was gambling with words to comfort everyone.
Trial version.
It was well fished for. Fished for. Like
Trial version.
why do people fish? They fish for hobby. You fish it out of the water. So he
Trial
was also
version.
fishing out what? He was fishing out words. Now, there is another expression. Do
version.
you know this?
Trial version.
Many of us will love it. Have you heard
Trial
it?
version.
If I say, SRC ma'am was fishing for compliments, what does it
Trial
mean?
version.
Tell me, what does it mean? If I say I'm fishing for
Trial
compliments,
version.
means I was expecting. Some of you would say something good to me,
Trial
nice to me.
version.
So for that, I'm trying out all possible ways to entertain you.
Trial version.
My purpose was to entertain you. Similarly here, now understand,
Trial
Gonzalo
version.
was trying to entertain them with words. That is the reason
Trial
Antonio
version.
says it was well fished for. That means you
Trial
were fishing
version.
for compliments. You wanted people to say, wow, Gonzalo, thank
Trial
you,
version.
Gonzalo. You're great, Gonzalo. Love you, Gonzalo. You're wonderful,
Trial
Gonzalo.
version.
So, he was doing that. Have you all understood the pun?
Trial version.
Clear to all of you? Okay, let's
Trial
continue
version.
then. When I wore it at your daughter's marriage, but you know, Gonzalo
Trial
remains.
version.
Give me a word here. See, Gonzalo does.
Trial version.
Persistent.
Sorry,
Ma'am, persistent.
not just persistent.
Trial
Do you
version.
notice one thing? He does not pay any attention to Antonio's words, whether they are compliment or whether they are
Trial
mockery.
version.
So, what can we call him? Gonzalo remains.
Trial version.
Give me a word. Give me that word.
Trial
Gonzalo
version.
remains.
Patient.
Trial version.
Sorry.
Trial version.
Gonzalo remains. The word starts with un
Trial
something.
version.
Ma'am, unaffected.
Okay, unaffected I'll give you.
Trial
Yet
version.
there is another word.
I'm unbothered.
Unbothered. Trial
Ah,
version.
that sounds bad.
Trial version.
This is the word. He remains unperturbed. That's the word I was looking
Trial
for in
version.
class 11. You are unmoved, but never say unbothered.
Trial version.
He remained unperturbed. Okay.
Trial version.
So he says, he addresses the king and he says, when I wore it at your daughter's
Trial
marriage,
version.
you crammed these words into mine ears against the stomach of
Trial
my
version.
sense. Now underline the word cram and write it down. You
Trial
are
version.
forcefully feeding me
Trial
with these
version.
words. You are forcefully
Trial
feeding me
version.
with these words. Although, write down the meaning
Trial
of those
version.
two sentences together, then I'll explain. You're forcefully feeding me with these
Trial version.
words, although I do not have the inclination.
Trial version.
Although I do not have the inclination. Within bracket, write
Trial
down
version.
appetite. Although I do not have the inclination,
Trial
within
version.
bracket, appetite for them. Although I do not
Trial
have the
version.
inclination, within bracket, appetite for them. Now imagine,
Trial
our
version.
mothers, they are experts in doing this. Your stomach might be full, but
Trial
mothers being
version.
mothers, she would come and try to, cram it into your mouth and say,
Trial
"Are
version.
tu khe nao babu, eta khetei hobe na ma, I can't, I'm full, na."
Trial
Please
version.
have this. Literally, she will cram it into your mouth, even though you don't have an appetite.
Trial
So, what is
version.
Alonso trying to draw the comparison with? He says Gonzalo's words are
Trial
like the
version.
food. And what food? I had given this word before.
Trial version.
It's like an unpalatable food. I don't have the
Trial version.
appetite. I don't have the appetite means I don't have the wish to eat them. I
Trial
don't have the
version.
wish to listen to your words, but you are still forcefully feeding me. That's
Trial version.
Gonzalo. I think that's what a true good friend is. Like, we
Trial
sometimes say,
version.
bhal lagche na re, ja na, irritate korish na, phone korish na, I don't want to be. I want to be left alone.
Trial version.
But what will a good friend do? She will or he will constantly keep on irking and irritating
Trial
you
version.
till you finally kind of, vent it out. So, would
Trial
I had
version.
never married my daughter there? Would I had never? This means I wish
Trial
I had
version.
never. He repents. He regrets. He regrets his
Trial
decision of
version.
having married Claribel to the king of Tunis because he says, for coming
Trial
thence,
version.
underline the word thence and write from there. For coming
Trial
from
version.
there, I lost my son, and in my rate, she too.
Trial
In
version.
my rate. Please underline in my rate and write down, I believe,
Trial version.
in my estimate. I believe I lost my daughter
Trial
too,
version.
who is so far from Italy removed, I never shall see her again.
Trial version.
That means, he says, this was
Trial version.
a very unfortunate and an unlucky journey. Because after
Trial
returning
version.
from Tunis or while returning from Tunis, number one, I
Trial version.
literally lost my son,
Trial version.
and I
Trial version.
figuratively lost my daughter.
Trial version.
Why do I say figuratively? Because Tunis is so far away.
Trial
They are
version.
coming all the way from Europe. And Tunis is altogether in a different kind of,
Trial version.
continent. It's in North Africa, further up there. So it won't be possible for me to
Trial
travel.
version.
Therefore, figuratively, I have lost my daughter. That means
Trial
I have
version.
now lost both my son and my daughter. Curse me. I am
Trial
that
version.
unfortunate father. Oh, thou mine heir of Naples and of Milan,
version.
what strange fish hath made his meal on thee? O thou mine heir of Naples and Milan.
Trial version.
Underline the word heir. Who is it referring to?
Trial version.
He's referring to Ferdinand. Okay.
Higher
Trial
to the
version.
throne.
Uh-huh.
Higher to the throne.
Yeah,
Trial
the
version.
heir to the throne. The heir to the throne. What happened? This is on, but
Trial version.
can you see me? No, I don't think.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Trial version.
Fine. Okay. Now look at one very important line.
Trial version.
O thou mine heir of, notice the next bit,
Trial version.
Naples and Milan.
Trial version.
Do you understand? Naples definitely, because he's the king of Naples. Why
Trial
Milan?
version.
Because tell me, Sakshi,
Trial
tell me.
version.
Why does he say Milan?
Trial version. Trial version.
Why is Ferdinand referred as the heir to Milan also?
Trial version. Trial version.
Anupriya, would you?
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
I think Shreya wants to answer.
Trial version.
Yeah, Sakshi, would you? No?
Ma'am, can I
Trial
try?
version.
Yeah, try. Shreya, try please.
Ma'am, they are referring to.
Trial version.
Ma'am, they are referring to
Trial
Milan
version.
also.
Yeah, right. Why?
Because ma'am, Antonio is
version.
not the.
Correct. Antonio is not the
Trial
what?
version.
Because Antonio has deserved it. It's not technically his. So
Absolutely.
Trial
Antonio is kind of, ruling over it, but under a condition.
Trial version.
Because he has submitted his crown to the king of Naples. So technically,
Trial
though
version.
he is ruling, but he is actually not the ruler. Very good, Shreya. Thank you. Therefore,
version.
since it belongs to Alonso, and therefore technically it should have come
Trial
to, by
version.
inheritance or the law of inheritance, it should have come to
Trial
Ferdinand.
version.
Okay. Francisco says, sir,
Trial
he
version.
may. Now, children, after may, put an arrow. Put an arrow and write
Trial
down two
version.
words. Strike out, live. Strike out, live, and write down, he may be
Trial
alive.
version.
Sir, he may be alive. Reason?
Trial
Number one,
version.
write number one now. I saw him beat the surges under him
Trial
and
version.
ride upon their backs. Underline the word surges. Can anybody tell me
Trial
what is the
version.
synonym for surges?
wave.
Correct, Shreya. Very good.
Trial
I
version.
saw him beating the waves under him and riding upon their backs. That's point one.
Trial version.
Point two. He trod the water. Underline the word trod and write
Trial
down.
version.
Wait, let me type it out.
Trial version. Trial version.
He kept himself afloat. So Francisco
version.
had seen Ferdinand floating on the waves. He had
Trial
been
version.
able to control the waves and he was riding on the waves. He's a good swimmer.
Trial version.
That's number 2. He trod the water whose enmity he flung
Trial
aside.
version.
How can you explain the line? Whose enmity he flung aside? Now imagine the time
Trial version.
when Ferdinand had jumped into the sea. What kind of a
Trial
sea was
version.
it? What was the condition of the sea? It was a
Tempestuous.
Trial version.
correct. It was a tempestuous sea. So the waves were
Trial version.
fuming. But what had Ferdinand done? Ferdinand had been
Trial
able
version.
to control the waves, the fuming waves, and he was riding above
Trial
the
version.
waves while swimming. That's the first thing. Second, he says, he
Trial
breasted
version.
the surge most swollen that met him. Please underline the word breasted and
Trial
write down.
version.
He beat the water with his feet and hands.
Trial
He
version.
beat the water with his feet and arms. Make it arms, not hands.
Trial version.
He beat the water with his feet and arms.
Trial version.
Francisco continues in saying, his
Trial
bold
version.
head above the contentious wave he kept. Please
Trial
underline the
version.
word contentious and write down.
Trial version.
Furious. Sorry, it's a double U.
Trial
Typing
version.
error. It was a furious wave that he was able to beat.
Trial version.
Above the contentious wave, he kept and oared himself with his good
Trial
arms
version.
in a lusty stroke. Underline, children, the word lusty and
Trial
write down.
version.
Powerful, strong.
Trial
Now,
version.
let's come back to the word he oared. What is the meaning of oared?
Trial version.
We know what is the purpose of an oar in a boat, right? So
Trial
here,
version.
if we are using the noun oar as a verb, he oared. That means what was he
Trial
doing?
version.
He was using his arms as he
Oars,
was
like
using
oars.
his arms as
version.
oars to do what? To cut the water, to cut through the water.
Trial
Correct?
version.
So if the word comes, give the meaning of the word oared, you will write
Trial
down
version.
cutting through the water. Or there's a better word. Let me give it to
Trial
you.
version. Trial
When
version.
you write, please don't write using my short form. Skimming through
Trial
the
version.
water. Cutting through the water or skimming through the water. Whichever
Trial
you
version.
remember. That's oaring. Okay. He oared himself with his good arms in
Trial
lusty
version.
stroke to the shore. Acha. What does Francisco mean by good arms? Good. Just the
Trial
word good.
version.
Tell me.
Strong.
Very good.
Trial
Strong.
version.
Yeah, good means
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
seem to
version.
bend under his supremacy.
Trial version.
The waves seem to bend under
Trial
his
version.
supremacy. That's one meaning. This line has a double meaning.
Trial
The
version.
waves seem to bend under his supremacy. That's one. Now,
Trial
come to the
version.
annotation. Gonzalo describes an overhanging cliff, its
Trial
base
version.
eroded by the sea, which seemed to bend over in compassion,
Trial
stooping to
version.
relieve him. What
Trial
does this
version.
annotation mean? You know, if you ever go to a seashore, and if you
Trial
ever see a
version.
seashore, beside the seashore, if there is a cliff, you will often find that, you know,
Trial
due
version.
to the constant seawater has that quality in it to
Trial
erode.
version.
So what has happened is half of the cliff has been eroded. So what
Trial
is the
version.
shape now of the cliff? The cliff has actually kind of, you know, bent. It's like,
Trial
you know, a
version.
little roundish shape. So Gonzalo here is trying to imagine as if
Trial
the
version.
cliff has bent as if in compassion for Ferdinand, trying to
Trial
say,
version.
come to me because I have bent myself. Since I am not too high, you
Trial
can
version.
climb onto me. So this cliff is nothing but the island. Remember,
Trial
the
version.
island is not so high, so he could swim onto the island.
Trial version.
So here I repeat again. One meaning bending is the
Trial
water
version.
seems to bend under his pressure. Second is the cliff. The island is
Trial
more like
version.
a cliff. But what has happened is the major portion of the island has been
Trial version.
eroded by the water. So Gonzalo tries to imagine as if out of
Trial
pity
version.
and compassion, the island has eroded itself and bowed itself
Trial
so that
version.
Ferdinand can swim over to the island. Am I clear?
Trial version.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Aditi, no.
Ma'am,
Trial
is this
version.
line said by Gonzalo or Francisco?
Oh,
Trial version.
yeah, but then why do they have, yeah, it should be then Francisco.
Trial version.
It should be then Francisco in the meaning also. Strike out the word Gonzalo there. Thank you.
Trial
In the
version.
meaning also strike out Gonzalo and write down Francisco. It is
Trial
Francisco's
version.
opinion. Correct.
Trial version.
Yes. Now, anyway, do you understand the meaning? Whoever has said it?
Trial
Clear?
version.
Okay. I not doubt he came alive to land.
Trial version.
Alonso says, no, he's gone. Sir, you may thank
Trial
yourself
version.
for this great loss that would not bless our Europe with your daughter. Sir, you may
Trial
thank
version.
yourself. Please underline the word thank. You know, we always have seen
Trial version.
Sebastian is such a brother who should not have done what he does. That
Trial
means,
version.
ideally, what should a brother do to his brother who has lost his son? You should
Trial version.
console. Or instead of consoling, what is he doing to his brother? Making
Trial
fun of
version.
him, criticizing him, chastising him. So he says,
Trial
no,
version.
you may thank yourself for this great loss. He wants to mean sarcastically
Trial
that
version.
you should underline the word thank and write. What will you write on top?
Trial version.
Tell me, what will you write?
Trial version.
Blame.
Correct. Blame. You should blame
Trial
yourself for
version.
this loss. Dad would not bless your Europe with your daughter,
Trial
but rather
version.
lose her to an African. You know, the kind of,
Trial
you
version.
know this word. Wait.
Trial version.
Have you heard this word? What does it mean?
Trial
Repulsion?
version.
To restrict.
No.
Trial version.
If I say, you know, I find somebody very repulsive.
Trial
I
version.
find somebody, repulsion means, yeah,
Trial
Ma'am,
version.
very strongly,
strong what? Strong
Trial
dislike.
version.
yes, ma'am.
Repulsion is a strong dislike. This further brings
Trial
out
version.
Sebastian's racial discriminatory attitude. He says you
Trial
could
version.
not
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
just for you, sir. Just for you, sir. We have all landed in this situation.
Trial version.
We have lost her to an African where she at least is banished from your eye,
Trial version.
who hath cause to wet the grief on it. Who had
Trial
cause to
version.
wet the grief on it. Now, please underline this who.
Trial version.
Who is this who?
Trial version.
Think and tell me.
Trial version. Trial version.
Who is this who?
Good.
Trial version.
Ferdinand.
No, Ferdinand, forget it. Not Ferdinand at
version.
all.
Claribel.
See, I myself have a
version.
doubt. I think it can be Claribel. I think it
Trial
also
version.
can be Alonso. I am myself
Yes.
not very
Trial
certain
version.
because it applies to both. If you see, where she is banished from your eye,
Trial version.
who had cause to wet the grief on it? Now, first underline, wet the grief on it means
Trial
weep
version.
over the sorrow of it. Weep over the sorrow of it.
Trial version.
Maybe meaning Claribel was unhappy with the marriage and Claribel was crying. She did
Trial
not want to
version.
get married. So it can be Claribel. And number two,
Trial
it can
version.
even refer to Alonso because Alonso has lost technically his daughter. He
Trial
would not be
version.
able to see Claribel ever again. She's so far away. So I would say keep it for
Trial
both.
version.
I'm not myself very certain because it
Trial
applies to
version.
both. Aditi wants to say something. Say.
Trial
Ma'am, I
version.
think, ma'am, it is, ma'am, maybe he means for both in the, like,
Trial version.
by using the word who, he means for both.
That's the reason why
Trial
I say it
version.
so without kind of, taking anyone specific, you write down and they both have their reasons.
Trial version.
Okay. Suppose, one fine morning, Aditi, your father says, I'm going to take you to
Trial version.
Tanzania and get you married. I'm not saying you are a racist or whatever, but I'll take you to the
Trial
jungles of
version.
Tanzania and get you married to a kind of a black man and you live among the chimpanzees and the
Trial
gorillas
version.
because your husband is an animal conservationist. So Aditi is like crying,
Trial
crying,
version.
crying, and your father also, when he comes back, your mother and your sister says, Papa, आपने ये क्या कर
Trial
दिया?
version.
We'll not be able to meet Aditi ever again because Aditi is now lost to the gorillas and the
Trial
jungle
version.
of Tanzania. So Aditi is crying and Aditi's father is now to be blamed, so he is also
Trial
crying.
version.
So it's not really very, very clear and very certain who's crying. So let's keep both Aditi
Trial
and Aditi's
version.
father. I mean, Claribel and Alonso. Okay,
Trial
now
version.
Alonso, prithee, peace. I mean, quiet, enough.
Trial
You
version.
were kneeled to. Now, this line will tell us why it can be Claribel.
Trial version.
You were kneeled to and importuned otherwise by all of us.
Trial
Please
version.
underline, kneel to and importuned and write down. You were requested.
Trial version.
You were requested by all of us.
Trial
And the
version.
fair soul herself, fair soul, your beautiful daughter.
Trial version.
That means there is proof enough.
Trial version.
Sebastian, Claribel, they had both requested Alonso.
Trial version.
पापा मुझे ये शादी नहीं करनी है, मुझे नहीं जाना है,
Trial version.
मुझे ट्यूनिस मत भेजो, मत भेजो, मत भेजो. नहीं बेटी तू जा,
Trial version.
सिमरन तू जा. Here it's not the other way around. नहीं सिमरन तुझे जाना
Trial
ही
version.
होगा, तुझे ट्यूनिस जाना होगा. नहीं पापा मुझे ट्यूनिस नहीं जाना है, मुझे यूरोप में
Trial
रहना
version.
है. I want to go to Switzerland, I want to go here and there. नहीं, you have to go to
Trial
North
version.
Africa. So they were all praying. So the fair soul herself was
Trial
weighed
version.
between lothness and obedience. Now,
Trial version.
underline the word lothness and write down her hatred for the match.
Trial version.
Her hatred for the match. Loath is hate,
Trial
repulsion. Her hatred for the match. Imagine
Trial version.
if Beauty's father would come initially and bring the
Trial
beast and say,
version.
Beauty, Beauty, marry the beast. It is a different story that Beauty later fell in
Trial
love with
version.
Beast because she could understand the beautiful heart within. But imagine your father
Trial
just brings
version.
the beast home and says, Beti, chal shadi karni.
Trial
I
version.
mean, it's not really happens. It does not happen that we use a yuck father, I can't. But your father has
Trial
other
version.
kind of, things in mind because your father is thinking that this beast will be able to
Trial version.
pick up the fruits from the trees. So it's good that my daughter will be having a lot of
Trial
vitamin C
version.
and vitamin B. So I would not have to go to the bazaar and buy the fruits. The gorilla, the chimpanzee will anyway
Trial
be able to
version.
get it for my daughter. So he sells you off to the gorilla. Anyway, I'm not saying that the king of Tunis was a
Trial
gorilla,
version.
jokes apart. So she was weighed between lothness and obedience. Please
Trial
underline
version.
obedience and write down at her father's will.
Trial
At
version.
her father's will. Which end of the beam she should
Trial
bow.
version.
Underline beam and write down in which direction. In
Trial
which
version.
direction. Now, I want to say everything said and
Trial
jokes
version.
apart, think about something. Let me type first a word.
Trial version.
Are you aware of this
Trial
term?
version.
What does it mean? Patriarchal or patriarchy?
Trial version.
Male body.
Trial
This is a
version.
kind of a setup which is ruled by the man. The father is the boss.
Trial
And
version.
what the father says, it's going to happen. So the time when Shakespeare was writing,
Trial version.
he believed too much in the importance of the patriarchy.
Trial
Remember
version.
Portia? You know, Portia, if she wanted to, she could have married anyone because
Trial
the father
version.
was anyway dead. पापा जाए भार में and पापा का promise जाए भार में. मुझे तो शादी करनी
Trial
है and
version.
शादी तो मैं करूंगी. But could she marry Bassanio even if she chose to? She couldn't. She would
Trial
have
version.
to wait till Bassanio would choose the right casket. That is patriarchy.
Trial
That
version.
is what is demanded of a daughter. So even if she hated Morocco, even
Trial
if she
version.
hated Monsieur Lebon, if they should have or would have chosen
Trial
the right
version.
casket, she would have to get married. Similarly, here think about
Trial
Claribel.
version.
Claribel was in a dilemma. The dilemma was on one hand,
Trial
Papa said,
version.
you have to get married. She did not want to marry a North African. But on the other
Trial
hand,
version.
as a daughter, you have certain obligations. Write down the word.
Trial
You
version.
have some obligations.
Trial version.
And due to that obligation,
Trial version.
you have to get married to the man your father thinks best.
Trial version.
You know, it's a typical dialogue fathers and mothers say.
Trial version.
তোমায় এত বছর আমি বড় করলাম, এত ভালোবাসা দিয়ে এত কিছু করলাম, তুমি
Trial
তার এই
version.
প্রতিদান দিলে, this is what you pay me by, this is what you give me. It's time for
Trial
you
version.
to kind of, pay me back. So Claribel, poor Claribel, even I feel sorry for her.
Trial
Let me
version.
just finish this. We have lost your son, I fear, forever. Milan
Trial
and
version.
Naples have more widows in them of this business making than we bring men
Trial
to
version.
comfort them. And the fault's your own. Milan and Naples have more widows.
Trial version.
Why? Why?
Trial
Why do they
version.
have more widows today?
Because of the they made that.
Because of
Trial
the
version.
shipwreck, so they think that they are the only people who have been saved and the other
Trial
ships have
version.
all been destroyed. That means there will be so many widows who will be sitting
Trial
and
version.
mourning for their husbands, the sailors and the other men. And it is all because
Trial
of
version.
one man's zid. It's one
Trial
man's
version.
decision. It's just for you, Priyangshu. Had
Trial
you not
version.
insisted